I was already good today. I switched my internet connection so we don't have and took the video feed off.
Oh, there we are.
Okay. So now we're getting there. Okay. So today is data day, but it's always data day, right? So we when we last left off, we talked about our objectives. We talked about using them on websites. So looking at OKRs on websites and looking at OKRs on social media. And we have one of our guinea pigs here, which is Grace from Bayrep. So tell us how you did on your objectives with your two clients with your website.
Um, so these two clients, and I'm sorry, I haven't been checking the range.
That's
That's
okay.
just me being lazy. Um,
You have more
which
opportunities to practice.
yeah. So these two, this development opportunity, we were able to secure one of them. It's a long cycle for us. And so we just secured 16 of them under her organization, and she finds 16 copy of my book, and she's migrating them over to our system or getting them to our using our systems. And we're now partnering up with another interior designer software application next. We're having an early discussion with them next week. So we are on track, but I probably need to be more realistic of what the duration time of the cycle for us.
Yeah. So this is a good example of it may not be that you can do weekly
Right.
updates, right? It might be that you do them, you make your OKRs quarterly, right? Or monthly or
Right.
whatever.
Hopefully probably more realistic.
Yeah, so you closed one. What is it called? A pilot project or what do you call it?
The pilot project with this designer, she has 16 other designer partnering up with them, and they also have showrooms, so we're able to get all her 16 clients onto our platform.
Okay. And then do you call that 16 separate clients or do you call that one client?
16 separate clients.
Okay, cool. So then you overachieved.
Oh, okay. Yes, sure. So our effort right now is going for more of these hubs that they have these kind of arrangement with multiple
Designers.
construction
Yeah.
professionals versus us doing instead of hunt one by one, we do go for packs now.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And also
So
someone validating why they think they already trust this person, and for them to promote our service, it makes more sense.
so you're doing an influencer strategy or like kind of a quasi partner
Right.
strategy. It's really an influencer.
Right. You're absolutely right. He is an influencer, and that's where the path that we're more interested in pursuing.
Great. And did you get your landing page done?
We're still working on the copies.
Okay.
Yeah, we're behind on we decided to break down to 4 landing pages, talk about 4 different features.
Okay, good.
We're also working on repositioning our messaging.
Let's pause. So you made 4 landing pages instead of 1?
Yes. We realized we need to have a 4 really focus on each core competencies.
So we'll put 4. So now your target's 4.
Yes.
And then for each core competency. Okay. And then there's your update. And then did you complete your meeting with all 3 of those guys? Your meeting, you said you had 3 meetings?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the last. No. Oh, yes, we did. Actually, I just mentioned the last interview today, just right before this meeting.
Okay. In the last 2 weeks. Right. So the point of this is it's not like a thing, right? It's like okay, this is a tracking living document just so you can keep track You can communicate with other people, right?
Right.
So you can, the transparency you can get to your team, that's the point of OKRs.
Yep. That makes sense.
Right. So then you can kind of say, oh, okay, well, I really need to say I exceeded my goal because of this, that, and the other, and I need to say this. And then the goal of the check-ins is to say, okay, we're on track every day, right? Or we have other things to do, or we need to add other things, right? It's just to
Right.
bring that transparent dialogue. And then did you send follow-up emails to
Yes,
all
I
your
did.
people?
Yep.
Okay, great.
So we're also taking your recommendation with the SendGrid. We're developing the drip emails.
Yeah, drips are really great. And then, that's when you start to really have the data,
Right.
right? So this is kind of a perfect example of this is the beginning, of being data driven. So you have data acquisition, right? So you have to set yourself up so that you can acquire data, right,
Right.
properly.
Right.
And then that's how you start to know, oh, we should focus on this and not that. We should focus on this and not that, right?
Right.
Um, so I know for us, that was like really helpful. I talked about in I believe in the marketing automation, or was it the sales automation one? We were talking about intercom
All right.
and how many experiments we ran, thousands of
Right.
experiments, and we upped the ante because we had learned that Google does something like 20,000 a year or something. So we're like, we need to do a lot more experiments, right? And really get clear, right? So, eventually, you'll have so many landing pages. And so, so when you start to get to like, you start to understand your scalability, that's when things get really interesting.
Got it.
So the goal is, to have different ones, right? But then the only critique I would have is just like don't overthink the landing pages, crank them out.
Okay.
Like don't make it a perfection project. It's not. Like, because people don't read, right? So, and
They
people
do
don't pay
not.
attention. They do not read, and they do not pay attention to things.
Okay.
So it's gonna be hard for, you're just gonna be heartbroken if you spend too much time on things,
Right.
because it's just going to be, people just throw these things away, unfortunately.
Right. But this is, maybe you can help me to understand, like, the goal for SEO, driving people to these very specific targeted landing page.
Well, first it's about scaling up your customers. And SEO is really more of a long-term strategy, because SEO does not get points on the board in terms of immediate income.
Okay.
So the goal is to crank out the landing pages, crank out the microsites, get the points on the board, sell, 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 sell. Then as you get the data in and you know what's true, then you need to focus on SEO.
Okay, got it. But what I'm trying to figure out is, like, maybe SEO is probably not a good way to look at this. These landing pages drive people to come sign up. We do have.
There are also education pieces as well. So think about that as well. Whereas SEO is more about findability once you're ready for the mass market. It's not really about immediate sales. It's really about, getting what's called lift. And so SEO was really designed for corporations. It wasn't designed for small businesses.
Right.
It's designed for corporations to get lift from online advertising or online marketing. So because they already have all these other pieces in place, that's where a lot of small businesses and startups get mixed up, is because you don't have the foundational pieces to have lift make sense.
Yeah.
Right. So SEO is really designed for lift, versus like social media can both be lift and foundational. So that's where they differ really greatly, right? And they were designed in two totally different eras, but basically what Google did that was fantastic for the market, for the whole economy of the world, was getting corporations to understand that online marketing, advertising, communications were important.
Got it.
Right. And that's why they focused on that lift. It wasn't till later just now, like really right now, 20 some odd years later, they're really focused on how do we get the rest of the market to catch up to what corporations can do. Because some people kind of do it on their own and kind of figure out their way through, but most people don't. 99% of people don't.
Got it.
So that's really the goal. And that's what the Tech Insider Club, that's what we all talk about all the time, is how to get the rest of the people up to speed, including small businesses. Um, okay, Miss Ashley, did you do your social media stuff?
Yeah, I did.
Tell us what happened on the front lines of your social media
Well, no
endeavors.
one's really responding to stuff and
Mm,
I start because I think everyone is just kind of because I'm trying to promote the Zoom classes, and I'm also starting to promote trying to do privates for like 45 instead of $85 for like a private
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
with social distancing. But it's like people were actually DMing me like or on my Instagram and stuff like, oh, this is you're like allowed to do privates now, and I'm like, yeah, we can do them as long as we're 6 feet away. They're like, okay, I'll think about it. And then like I can't wait to get back on the machine. I have no interest. I have no like motivation to work out at home on my like by myself at all. Like I'm hearing that, but then no one's actually like spending the money. You know, like because I'm giving them this discount for cash, but very like no one's really like pulled the trigger to like book a private, or even with the Zoom classes, they're dwindling down to 2 people. So I think people are kind of just like burnt out or scared and don't want to. The Zoom classes are donation based anyway. I think people are just getting really lazy with everything right now. So it's not really like it's not leading to an actual action, but people are like responding, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's think about that. So this is then the perfect opportunity for you to do data acquisition on like the reasons why, so you don't have to guess what the reasons are. You actually know. So you ready? You ready to be the guinea pig of the day?
Oh, okay. Yes.
She's like, okay. So there's some things, that we can do to sort of help this out. So let me ask, did you ever make your promotional page so we can catch up with your data? The
On my
first
web
part.
on my okay, so I made it for Instagram and Facebook, but I have
Mm-hmm.
I put it on my front page like that we were doing it on my website, but I haven't
Yeah.
created like a specific tab yet. I'm still behind on like a tab for the Zoom classes.
Yes. But put
But
it on your front. Your homepage counts.
okay, yeah.
So
So
you put it on your homepage and Instagram and Facebook.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Right. The point is just having you do that. Right. And did you find 20 people yet?
I have found 9 that I've actually like spoken to and or reached out
Okay.
to.
So we have 9. Let's go back to yours. Understanding. So really, even though like people aren't instantly signing up, you're in good shape because you're still getting understanding.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Right? So that's okay. Right? And
Yeah.
and and that's what you're really learning, even though like understanding kind of incites, like entrepreneurial panic. Because you're like, I just want them to sign up. Can they sign up now? Hurry up. Right?
Yeah, like
Um,
one of my clients, she has cancer. Like she's going through. I think she might be done chemo, but she doesn't have any hair yet. I was trying to sell retail, so I was at my studio for several days and didn't sell anything. But like a few people came by and were like, "Oh, when are you gonna open?" And I was so. I mean, people want to work out, but then when I tell them about the privates or the Zoom classes, they're like, oh, "Okay, thanks for letting me know." So like I get that like drive that walk by traffic, but
yeah.
again, the same thing. There's like commitment or I don't see them on the Zoom or I don't see like they're not booking the privates. So it seems like
Yeah.
everyone just wants to wait until like the state says it's okay. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really sure
Yeah, but
what
see, then you can engage them, right? So you can be like, "Hey, have you been on Zoom yet? Like, have you even tried it? Or do you have to do it for work? Do you love it? Do you hate it?" That's where you get the data, right? Start asking those questions to tease out like what is the deal. You know what I mean? Or are you wanting to wait, or, can I, is it okay? Do you think it would be okay for you? Can you come back by at this time? Like
Mhm.
you have to start sort of like say, okay, like why don't you come back by at this time and we'll do a private together? Like what's your schedule like?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not good at that. I'm not.
Right?
Yeah, I
So
need to get better at that. Okay.
yeah, that's sales, right? So when they're coming to the store, they're saying so in I was just in a group with Pivotal, right, which is Melinda Gates BC, and one of the things they train female founders on is you don't actually do sales. You kind of wait for somebody to sell themselves. You have to ask for the money. Right? And that's part of data, right? You have to ask, so there's the education piece, right? So there's the overall, right, part where you say, okay, you got them to understanding, like you have achieved your objective to the people you've talked to, right? Based on what you're saying, and they're asking questions, and then you say, oh, well, let's schedule a session, and then just see, like, okay, maybe I can do an intro. Right now I have a special for 45. Maybe I can do it for 35. Maybe you can do it. You know what I mean? And like start doing it.
I have another question for you that's related to that. I wanted to
Yeah.
get your opinion. So, no other Pilates studio does this approach except Club Pilates, which is a chain or is a franchise. It's a chain.
Right.
And what they do is they do like they call it like, oh, sign up for your first free class, but it's really like a 30-minute intro. Like it's a specific class like on Sundays, like once a month, and it's like 30 minutes, and it's not really a workout. It's just them introducing people to like what Pilates is and trying out the equipment. But like no
Mhm.
other small business privately owned Pilates studio does it, right? So,
Mhm.
and then because of that, like lots of potential clients will come in and want to just like, I just want a free class, like which is different than like a class, like a specifically designed
Right.
time, so like I'll get people that just show up like 5 minutes before and just like, you mean I just can't get on the machines, and not like they don't even want to sign the waiver. Like I'll get weirdos like that, but there is this like desire to do that for free, and it's like I can't do that because I tell them no, because
That's just because
I pay my instructors per
there's a
head.
void.
And then I've thought about doing like where I schedule it and I teach it myself, kind of like that. But part of me is like, well, I'm giving my time away for free, and people are like, I'm just teaching the consumer to be a cheap ass, just because that
Yeah,
specific model
yeah.
works
No,
for
you don't have to do
Pilates.
any of that. No,
Okay,
no, you
good.
don't have to do any. Okay, don't. Okay, let's leave that whole planet.
I just want to
The
get your
goal.
opinion of that, because that's what my
Yeah.
competitor is doing.
No, no, you have to ask for money because that's how you eat. So you have to ask for money. And when you have someone come in the store, you have to have so what I like to add to your objectives, right? So we're going to go into positive perception, experimentation, and adoption, right? That's where the data becomes really important. So just since you're the guinea pig, what we've done so far, right? You have contact and understanding. And now, see what's happening because you don't have anything in place to do this positive perception place, they're going into inaction. So notice how that's right there, right? Because there's nothing here. It's just because there's a void here. That's why that's happening.
I don't want that. Okay.
Right? You don't want a void here. Once you get them to understand what you offer, you need something here to bring them to positive perception. Right? And sometimes, it's not what, they're not getting what they want, right? Which is this negative perception piece. They understand, but they're not getting, and then they're going into inaction. So they're like, okay. So the first thing, you need to add, right, to your objectives is being able to create, your positive perception scripts, right? Positive perception.
Marie, is that that's the next objective, or is that a key result?
So that's the next key result.
Next key result.
Yeah. And so what happens is then you say, okay, I am going to, so one is you want a, walk-in script, right? creating a walk-in script, right, where you make an offer, right, and a script about Zoom, right? Create a walk-in offer and a Zoom offer, right? So if they say, okay, thanks, and then you make an offer. When they say, right before, when you explain it and you say, and I like to offer you, right? And the offer is, right, to schedule, right, a follow-up, right, which means an appointment, a phone call, an email. Can I email you more information about that? Can I follow up with you? Do you have time on this date, this time? I have an opening here, right? So that takes some thought on your part about like when you're going to do those follow-ups, right? Are you going to do them Monday, Wednesday, Fridays? Are you doing Tuesday, Thursdays? Are you doing them in the morning? Are you doing them in the evening? But the positive perception comes from follow-up. And that's where every small business screws up, generally speaking, right? So we're going to create a target for follow-ups. So how many follow-ups do you think you can do by next week?
Let me see. 1, 2, 3. I could do like 5 to 10. 5. Let's aim low. 5.
Let's go low. Okay.
Try to be realistic. So.
Nice. It's okay. You can do it however you want to do it. But so the thing is, you're still going to target people, right? You still have 11 more based on your goal, right? And then you have 5. You're going to make an offer, right? And then you want to make sure you actually have planning ahead of time to close them, right? So that's how you get that offer off and running, right? And we're going to talk about how you go from understanding to positive perception, experimentation, adopt, all the way up to where they're like really part of your community for real, right? They've paid you, they continue to pay you, right? All those the goals, right? It's like #goals. So that's where we're trying to get people to, right, is this part. And this part is what's called the customer journey, right? So we're going to talk about how to put those into place, right? And then the data, this is why having your analytics installed is so important, right? Because once you have those landing pages, you want to see, are people actually hitting those pages that you're directing them to, right? The other thing you want to have in place besides data analytics is Bitly, right? When you're on social media. So you want to make sure you have your Bitly account. We live and die by our Bitly account. We love our Bitly account with all sincerity. And the reason why we love it is because, we're able to really see, every single thing that happens with every single promotion, like literally within a minute of sending it out. And then we also live by our Facebook analytics. I'll show those in a minute. Those are all like super important, right? And we look at our Facebook analytics versus our Bitly analytics versus our, I talked about union metrics, right? And then we also experiment a lot with, the first line of a post or a subject line, right? So that's why I talked about the cold outreach email tool. It's important that you begin to figure out what words, right, stimulate reactions to the targets that you have. So first, you want to make sure they are definitely targets. So the way that you know that is that they're responding to you or they're clicking on whatever you're asking them to click on. And generally that happens within 24 to 48 hours. That's when you know you have people who are really interested, who are not in the nice to have space, who are in the actual need to have space. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
So you have to have the pages lined up, right? You have to have data analytics installed, Google Analytics. You have to have Bitly, right, for your social media. And then you also have to have tools to understand your social media reach, right? And your Bitly helps. If you can put Bitly in your emails, it's good. Sometimes an email service provider will say Bitly is not good for email delivery. So it depends on which email service you're using. But if you're using Google for sending out emails, which requires some special tools to be added into G Suite, so you can't just send out 100 emails with G Suite without the right tools in place. You can also use like a SendGrid. MailChimp is a little bit problematic when you start doing like really targeted outreach. So you have to be careful in using MailChimp. That's why we don't recommend MailChimp or Squarespace or Wix or any of those for emailing folks. So we say, make sure you use a tool that's actually robust enough that gives you a IP address, and so we can talk about that offline specifically next week. But the basic gist is you have to have all of these pieces in place so that then you know exactly how to close everything. So I just want to go over our Bitly account, assuming it will open quickly. It seems to be
Quick question, Marie.
very slow. Yes.
Preference between Bitly versus Tiny URL.
Versus which one?
Tiny URL.
Bitly is the oldest one. It's the most established one. There are lots of short liveds out there, lots and lots. I would say if you find one where you have some like particular features that you think are awesome, from a reporting standpoint, then just test it. Run some tests to make sure that you don't have kickback from your email service provider or from social media or some kind of weird result, because sometimes that does happen. Sometimes they get labeled as spam.
Got it. Thank you.
Whereas Bitly, 99% of the time does not. Even though I have seen email providers try to blame it on Bitly, I've never found that it was actually Bitly's fault.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Exciting. Why is it circling like that? Okay, let's try to get it there. Okay. Let's see if we have a better time with union metrics. So, I don't know if any of you guys has anybody ever heard of union metrics? They're kind of a they're kind of a weird one, a weird little metric tool, but they're it's a very, very effective tool. So assuming that this one doesn't take forever either. But let's see.
We just lost your presentation.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured something was happening. Okay, let me go back 1 second, guys. We're going to split up the internet signals because this is the time of the day where the internet decides to be very slow. All right.
Hey, Marie.
Yes.
If we have a question, like when we were starting to watch all the webinars that you did, or any of these the past hall meetings, can we email you, or do we email support?
Email support.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and then if there needs to be a whole session, then we're happy to have that session too, where we can explain other things. What we're trying to do is group as many questions as possible for the cohort, so that if they're sort of like frequently asked questions, we can address them that way. Okay, looks like it's trying to load now, but then it's still taking a long time. Okay, so question one is, does everybody have Google Analytics set up already? I think we got the people that didn't handle, but is everybody on the call have Google Analytics? So that's sort of lesson number one. And did everyone get the Google Analytics Academy links while we're waiting?
I think everyone did.
I know Todd has everyone's email, so you should have gotten them already. If you don't have them, look in your LACI FBA email.
Yeah.
And there are Google Analytics lessons, both beginner and advanced. And they're directly from Google, so you don't have to worry about like rumor or hypotheses about how all the stuff is supposed to work. It's directly from Google. It's telling you exactly how it works. It's free. Please take advantage of that. It's really, really important that you take advantage of that. And there are tutorials everywhere. There are tutorials for pretty much everything I'm saying, right, at all times. So you don't really have to guess about anything I'm saying. You can Google it and it's right there. These are sort of basic digital literacy skills. They're not special to Marie. So okay, it looks like I can split the connection and we'll be in decent shape here. All right, so I'm almost back. Okay, and then has anybody ever dealt with their social media analytics? Let's hear about that a little bit. Social media analytics, anyone? Bueller? No? No social media analytics?
Is that like Bitly or?
No. Oh, Grace says she's setting up time. Okay. Add Google Analytics with the redesign. Yeah, you have to make sure you do that before you start like doing all these experiments, Grace Spark. But no, actually, so social media analytics are super important because they are the tools that you need in order to know whether your promotions in social media are effective. And a lot of times people will just sort of stay in the bubble of social media and never go on your site. So it's really important to know whether something is making sense or not. So one is your Facebook analytics, and then your Twitter analytics, and then there are Instagram analytics and things like that. So I'm going to show you Twitter and Facebook first. I mean, Twitter and Instagram first. And then I'll show you a little bit about Facebook because it's kind of its own thing. Because my internet is going really slow. We're going to run long today, so I am recording this, so if you have to jump off, that's okay. Let's go into join mode here. All right, looks like we're back. We're back, baby. All right. And then I think, Grace Parker, are you the only one here with a mobile app? Todd, is that the only one in the cohort with a mobile app?
Yeah, as far as I know, well, yeah, I think BayRep has an app of their own.
Yes, we do, both Android and iOS.
Okay, and what do you use for analytics on your mobile app?
Google Analytics.
Use Google Analytics. So have you ever used App Annie at all?
I'm familiar with them. I haven't used them.
Okay.
Do you recommend that would be the better solution?
Depends. Like every answer. It depends. Yeah, it depends on your particular needs. I wouldn't say necessarily it's absolutely required, but there's a point, just as a footnote, where Google Analytics like does not work well for analytics, and it's for a lot of different channel strategies that aren't where you're not necessarily always having everyone on your website. But if you're web-based, or if you're a mobile responsive site, or some kind of app that is some relationship to mobile, then Google Analytics tends to work okay. Now, what Google Analytics doesn't do is track your specific clients or users. And then once you need to actually track your specific clients or users, then Google Analytics becomes extremely problematic. So we could talk about that a little bit towards the end if we have the opportunity to.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, we'll like to know better when we just become very rudimentary on tracking our apps.
Yeah, so just as a quick aside, I'm not going to go over them today, but one aside is we actually have a lot of tools and partners that we work with that track, for example, actual sessions. So it actually looks at, what do hotspots and what people look at and what they click on and how long they're on the page and all that sort of stuff. There are great tools that do that, and there are great tools that use internet technology so that they know which user is on the page at a given time. So somebody's going to your site 3, 4, 5, 6 times, but they may not be talking to you, they may not be emailing you, or they may not be commenting on your social media.
Right.
So, those tools become really important when you have scale.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it looks like it's finally it says it's trying to get in. Okay, there we go. Yay. I love 5 o'clock / 4 o'clock. Okay. So you guys should be seeing my screen any minute.
Oh yeah, it's up.
Hooray!
Okay. Yay. Okay. So this is Bitly, obviously. You can see we just sent out a promotion for Data Camp. So if you didn't catch that, please use that. That is like the most awesome deal for Data Camp's free for a week. If you can prioritize that, please do that. So of course with Bitly, you have all these wonderful things. What's great, one thing I love about Bitly is it does focus on channels of where your clicks are actually coming from. And if you're tracking very closely, you can really see what's happening on specific things. So there's certain things where we make links embedded in links and related to other links and all kinds of things because we're tracking like micro trends as well as like an overall post. So like we're tracking like specific opportunities, like one specific partner, but we're also tracking an overall, COVID-19 page and things like that. So we're always looking at like what's the overall topic versus specific topics within a topic. So, what communities are focused on e-learning, what communities are focused on resources, what communities are focused on different things. So we always look at like, what is it that's really driving opportunity. So we happen to have on our page is we have links. We have links where we can track specific titles inside of our pages, not just the page itself. So that's very helpful. So there's some things, that's why we tell all of our clients to get off of Wix and Squarespace and all those things too, because the ability to hyperlink inside of pages and the ability to segment pages and track data and all that sort of stuff become harder to do. So we do all this stuff, and we track ourselves on every platform that we post on. We're always seeing kind of like what's very, very popular, what's not so popular, when did things happen, how long have they been happening, that sort of thing. So that's, what makes Bitly really great, because Bitly tracks across every channel you have. So Google Analytics just does your mobile site and your regular website. It doesn't do all the other things you put out there in the world. So that's what makes Bitly really important, is that you're able to track everything you put out there in the entire world, as long as it's tied to a Bitly link. So, as many things as you want to throw out there, we're very experimental in our company. So we put a lot of things out there, and then we want to see, okay, what are the real what is really making things happen, right? So we see like, oh, okay, this is like, oh, look, this grant resource is doing really well over all of our other ones that we posted, or versus Facebook, for example, or whatever. So, you know, we're really looking at like, oh, where's our community at? What are they focused on? What are they thinking about? And that, you know, this is a lot of the ways that we know. It's because we're tracking all of this stuff by Bitly. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, so track everything with Bitly. That's the point of that discussion. And then, you know, you can always, what's great about Bitly too is we have our whole history of our entire company is on Bitly. You can see this link was created in September 13th, 2015. So 5 years ago, it's still tracking the Bitly link, right? And that Bitly link is still active and still gets posted on all, gets clicked on all the time from one Instagram account. It's just a social change thing that I'm really passionate about, but it's amazing to me that people are still clicking on it. 5 years later, they're clicking on it all the time. And then if you don't know the trick about Bitly, one of the best tricks is you can type in any one of these links. Actually, let me look at top performing, and then I can show you. If you put the Bitly link in your browser with the plus sign, you can see the whole history of that entire link. Does anyone know about that whole thing?
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, can you show that?
So you can go here, and then when I put plus next to it, it will show the whole history of that entire link. You like hold music. Loading. I like some fun animation here. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And then also, if you want to see the performance of anybody else's Bitly link, if you like to spy.
Oh, you're kidding. So it's that easy. I mean, it basically...
Usually, well, they might have cut that out. I shouldn't say that. They might have cut that out. It might be just for your account. But there's some links where you can. There's some accounts I've noticed where you can actually track that kind of information. You can track somebody. So, for example, a lot of companies have their own personal Bitly links, customized Bitly links, and you can track their links. So you can see here, it originally was just tracking like the last 30 days, and now this shows like the clicks for all time. So this has gotten 141 clicks overall, but in the last 30 days, it's gotten 83 of those clicks. So we know over 60 days that this crisis is happening, that the clicks are actually increasing. So that's how you can start to really get down to some niggly bits if you check it on a regular basis, like what's happening. So we're like, oh, the needs are, so like if we were thinking about taking the page down, we'd be like, oh, don't take the page down because like there's whatever, there's 90 more people on the site than there were before.
Interesting.
So that's where you can really get into so that's where Bitly's really helpful. And then like if something's going viral, you don't have any way of knowing that unless Bitly is active, right? If you have a viral link and you don't know whether you're contributing to the viral part of the link. So if somebody else had put this out here, then we would know because it would show both our data and their data together. So there's some of that stuff. Yeah. So
let's say you had an article that you wanted to repost to share with, on some social media platform. it's an article from some other organization, like let's say Forbes, right? And could you create a bit.ly link for that particular article and then post it in your social media and have the social media platform identify the actual article so it kind of pulls up that headline? Okay.
Yeah, so you can, so like say if you and 100 other people post it, it'll tell you what the other 100 people's stats are and what your stats are.
Interesting. So it aggregates all the shares that someone else, like I send it to Grace and Grace sends it to the other Grace.
Yeah.
Then people click on it over there.
Yeah. And they send it to me and.
Right. Then I send it to Ashley. Right.
Right.
And Ashley's like, I already got this from Todd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to see if it'll do it for Union Metrics, but apparently nobody's posting about Union Metrics to me. So yeah, so Bitly is like really important for that reason. It's like really super cool. And they've had that plus sign feature from the beginning. I don't know why very few people know about it. Like very, very few people. So for some reason. Oh, is it making it? Okay. Allow. Every once in a while Google creates a rule that I didn't create. Oh, there we go. So Union Metrics, they have free tools that do Instagram and Twitter. And they have paid tools that do Facebook, but we're going to go on native Facebook. So there's because of the whole what do you call the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Facebook revoked a lot of apps from using its data and using its platform. So there are only a few that will give you extra insights outside of native Facebook. So we had talked about in one of the webinars, I believe we talked about Sprout Social is one, Union Metrics is one, and there are a few others that will do it outside of native Facebook. That will give you what is called social intelligence, but it's basically social analytics. So you can see here there are 3 tools in here. One is called the Twitter Assistant, one's called Twitter Snapshots, and one's called Instagram Checkup. So you can see we use these pretty regularly. And it can show you kind of how you're actually, like what's sort of happening with your Twitter. We actually have a fairly popular Twitter account in that it gets a lot of retweets that have a lot of reach. So the difference between your tweets, it's your actual followers and your reach and your impressions is a whole lesson. I'm not going to get into those today, but what's important is that you begin to kind of understand what drives your business, and the actual tools from Union Metrics are great because they give you a sense of kind of where is your traffic coming from, who are the people that are influential in your account, and it will update it every single day. So you can actually just check every single day once you get a Twitter following, what's happening with your account, and also how many tweets are actually going out there. So in our case, our Twitter is actually managed by software. It's not managed by a person. So we're able to do a lot of tweets, as you can see, and we have a pretty good handful of followers. But we have what's most important about our Twitter account is we have a lot of influential followers. So our tweets actually tend to have good impressions. So you can see we earned 1,900 impressions just from one retweet. So that's because we purposely orchestrated our Twitter to have influencers involved in it. That was one of the very first things we ever did. The other thing it does is it tells you, what tweets, how many tweets you have that contain certain elements, and it'll also tell you what your which tweet that happened with. So, for example, this is the one that got the most impressions, and we can go, oh, okay. Well, people want to know, oh, wow, okay. So somebody retweeted about APIs. Who was that? We can go and look and see, and then we can start building out a relationship with that person because they got us a huge number of impressions. And then the same with hashtags and that sort of thing, links, video tweets. So it can tell you like where you're really doing that. It can tell you what time to tweet, which is cool. Where you get the most engagement, and also tell you what hashtags are good for your Twitter account, which is super useful, right? So what's great is it tells you the hashtag that's important to your Twitter, but also related hashtags. So it's also saying, okay, you can also talk about GANs, which is a popular thing because it's super creepy AI stuff. And so people want to know about it because it's creepy. But that's the main thing. And then software architecture. So it just shows us kind of like what got the most impressions and why, and that sort of thing. So we can sort of, it's kind of cool. We can play with this a little bit, but basically you can kind of see what's going on. And then it tells us who are our most influential followers that have contributed to our account this week. So these are our normal folks here that always contribute to our account because I track it all the time. But you can see that we've had 31 contributors, right? And then we can sign up for Google Analytics, for Union Metrics, and get the whole thing if we want, right? So each one of these is kind of a teaser to like getting the actual account, but you can actually get a lot out of their free Twitter Assistant. Does anybody have any questions about this before I go into the snapshot?
Yeah. This is Todd. On the dates and times, like when are the best times to tweet, is that based on historicals for this particular Twitter account?
So yeah, it's based on analyzing the audience when our audience is active.
Okay.
So it can show when our particular audience is active. So we can see here. So you can actually, this is the coolest thing, right? You can mouse over this thing.
So
and
Monday.
You can see, yeah, Monday at 8 p.m. We know that already. Like all of our audience, for some reason, Sunday nights and Monday nights are like the day everybody catches up with everything.
Huh.
And then Thursday, this is also a very hot time for us. Like Thursday at 11 p.m. We know that already too. But like not Fridays, but people kind of like check in last on Thursday. So I'm like freaking out if I don't get a post out on Thursday. Usually I'm like, oh, I got to get the post out if we're promoting something. Because I'm like, otherwise it goes into no man's land until Monday. Nobody knows about it till then. And that's true on Facebook too.
So how much do you need?
That's our audience.
How much time do you need before it really starts to figure that out? Is it pretty quick? Or?
Usually, pattern. So it will generate patterns right away, right? But of course, the key is tracking all this over time.
Got it.
Right, and constantly monitoring it over time, so you know the patterns of your audience, and you really know what's true. And then the other thing that's cool for Twitter, we highly recommend. It's probably the highest recommendation that you put together a Twitter account and you populate that Twitter account because you get so much data. You get the most data out of all the social media platforms from Twitter. So you can see here, these are our two automated Twitter accounts. And then you can see the impressions and all that sort of stuff we get. So it measures the number of tweets, it measures the reach, and it measures the impressions. And then each one of these is a specific report. Let's see if it'll open up the old one. I think it does. And this is a really good one too, because it really puts together, it helps you really understand kind of why things are happening on your Twitter account appropriately, which is great, and how to start to drive traffic. Again, each platform has its own science to driving it, and then it's also based on your industry, and it's based on your own audience, right? So first thing is, that's why we tell everyone, make offers and capture your audience. Even if they're not buying, capturing their level of interest, right? Capturing what they click on, capturing where the algorithm takes your post, right? And all that sort of stuff gives you a lot of information to begin to put things together. So you can start to see, like, okay, here's what's going on. So I can see, oh, Kyle to you success has some impression contribution to our overall Twitter feed. And I can look at who these people are and like why they're there, right? And like what's the most retweeted impressions, and you know who's the most retweeted, obviously ours. And then I can see on our timeline, you know, what's happening with specific tweets. So we're not doing any big campaign with this account, but we can start to see if we were doing a big campaign, like what's happening. And then we can see activity, right? So we've done less tweets recently, but we, you know, times when we do more. And then we can also see how many accounts are driving impressions. So we have other Twitter viewing tools that we use to be able to see who these 55 people are. And it turns out there's this sort of sweet spot of people. These are what are called micro influencers. They have 10,000 or less, but they have more than 1,000, or say they have between 1,000 and 10,000 users. So we have 55 micro influencers that are driving the traffic to our Twitter account and then into our website and other promotions. So we know we need to focus on those 55 people. Does it all make sense to everyone?
Yeah. How often does a business owner look at this? Is this on a daily basis or like weekly?
I recommend weekly once you have a good following. If you don't have a big following, like monthly is probably better.
Okay.
And there's certain things like, you know, that are helpful on a monthly basis, because you have more data about the same people, right? You have more of a pattern to track. But we try right now, you know, we're medium size, and we track every couple of days or a couple weeks right now. We definitely don't track every day because it's too much.
And your Twitter volume, like the Twitter content, is managed by a system to post?
Yeah, we have a robot, yeah. Meaning, like, we literally don't do anything. It's literally a robot. So, and there's different, you know, tools that do that sort of thing. You know, the main thing is you just have to have a plan, right? So the biggest thing is, once you know what your audiences want and you know what offers are attractive to your audience, and you know what kind of content is attractive to your audience, that's why you have to start doing these experiments. You have to start putting out different subject lines, putting out different pictures, making landing pages, cranking those landing pages out. Like, don't overthink the landing pages. Crank them out. Crank out the posts. Crank them out. Crank them out. Crank them out. And that doesn't mean like don't plan, but don't like over design or overthink the copy or like all of that sort of stuff. Like, do a good job, do good enough, right? And then put it out there so that you can see the response. Because almost all the time, you know, most businesses go out of business because their hypotheses are wrong. And then they've spent all their money on the wrong hypotheses, and then they're out of money. Right? So don't be that person. Make sure you put experiments out there. You just start talking to customers. The customers will give you all the information. And make your offers really basic, as basic as you can make them, so that you can find out like whether it's true or not before you invest tons and tons of money and time. So we do a lot of that. Like right now, we're just going into mass market right now in year 5. And the reason why we did that and we waited and just kept it at tens of thousands of users was because we wanted to make sure we had the right strategy. And literally, what was it, 5 hours ago, I just closed Microsoft for a global deal. Right. And I focused on like doing all this other stuff. Right. And it's my 7th deal with Microsoft. So it's like if I didn't have all this data about our users and about LA and about the city and about what happens when we train you guys and all this stuff, if I didn't have all that rich set of data for less than 100,000 user sample size, we would probably we probably would have made the wrong pitch. I can say definitely we would have made the wrong pitch 3 years ago or whatever it was. So, it's important that you do this work because, if you want to get bigger, and also like even stuff like using Ashley's example where you try out different angles on the sale, right? So you could also go like negative data, right? Do you hate Zoom, right? Maybe your users hate Zoom. It'd be good. And then if they're all high-fiving that post, then you're like, oh shit, I need to stop offering Zoom classes. Maybe they hate Zoom, right? So sometimes I will post negative information. I'll be like at one point we posted on Facebook, do you hate Facebook? Just to see how people will respond to it, or would you like something different or better, right? And it turned out that like that wasn't the angle, right? It was more about like software literacy. And then we found out, oh, all of our customers are looking for software literacy. Oh, that's a major problem. Oh, turns out Microsoft saw that too. Oh, turns out we can partner together. That's kind of how the story went. So we were like, oh, wow, that's great, right?
So, Marie, I have a question on the number of people following. I feel like I understood what you were saying, and then I think I got confused. So at some point, is it better to keep your follower group limited in size so that you're able to handle the number of followers you have every time you put an offer out there? Or is it always better to just have as many as possible? No. I'm not sure I got confused. I think I got confused there.
No, it's better to stay focused. So you have an audience of size that is focused on what you're focused on and that can provide value. So we have two things going on. We have specific focus, very specific focuses on our feed. And then we also have a lot of influence. So you can see here that our retweet reach was like super high, like way above our number of followers, right? And that was based on 7 retweets. So we have this like virality factor because of how many people are retweeting, the types of people that are retweeting our stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we say we reach 1.5 million people a month, because we're always tracking how many, like what's happening with retweets, how's that affecting our clicks, who are our top followers. So we have this tool. This is also free. It's called SumAll. And you can start tracking who your best people are without having to do all this like heavy data crunching. I'm probably like the laziest programmer in the world. I will find a tool in a hot second that will help me crunch data faster than I can do it manually. So you can see here, this is like really good. So like I really, as usual, need to reach out to someone very important, Van, Regional, or whatever. And so, that's a big one where I can go, oh, wow, look, he's reaching 43,000 and he's like, he retweeted something of ours. Let me go back and find that. Where did he do that, right? Because this is on autopilot and I'm not checking it hardly ever. But we're collecting the data all the time, right? I'm not on the front end of Twitter looking at posts ever.
So do you send
I'm always on the back end.
Or something? How do you reach out and?
Yeah, so it's the same thing. You develop a profile on like what kind of people you're looking for, or you see if he matches an offer or a promotion, or any of those things related to your business. So like for us right now, we're on a huge, like we're doing a lot of partnering and hiring because we need to build out capacity because last year we had too many requests for projects and we couldn't fulfill the orders. So the great problem to have, right? So we have a waiting list. So now it's like, okay, now we got to find the right people to like work with us and partner and do all these different things. We had to build out the company a lot faster, and then COVID hasn't helped. So like that's one of the things where we'll go like, oh, okay, well, he's a cool one, you know. Let's see what he are. Do you know someone who can do the data, who can or whatever we're looking for, right? So that's also super important. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about Twitter? We're officially starting to run over. So if anyone has a drop, you can drop. If you want to stay, you can stay. Okay, so Facebook, my favorite. So there is a class, a workshop on our learning portal about the Facebook API, where you can kind of learn about all the aspects of Facebook that we did a few years ago. So feel free to view that because it really is a lot of different, there's so many different pieces that have evolved from Facebook. So, you know, please feel free to check that particular one out because it's just, there's so much to it. But we're just going to go over just the basics of the analytics of Facebook from the analytics part. Has anybody experimented or played with their Facebook analytics ever?
A little bit.
Yeah, what did you learn about Facebook analytics?
What did I learn? You know, I learned that, well, so what I noticed with analytics, I learned like about the kinds of offers, like the cheaper offer got more responses than like the more expensive offer, even if it was better. That's something I thought was interesting. And that like video did better. Like when I would promote an ad and it was a video ad versus just like an image.
Yeah, videos are much better.
Yeah,
you're right.
Got more clicks. Yeah.
Yeah. And the cheaper thing is just about presentation.
Yeah, like so not just on Facebook, but also like on the Nextdoor app, when I look at like how many clicks it got, it would be like like one of the specials I have for new clients is 2 for 1. So 2 classes for the price of 1 versus like a private session and 5 classes for $99, which is normally like closer to $230. And the cheaper one just got more clicks, even though the other one was like financially a better offer. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's about the words you're using, right? It's like how you're positioning it. So like if you said, if you calculated it out for people and said it's $10 a class or whatever the economics are versus like the aggregate amount, that probably would do better.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? So that's where experimenting with the headlines, we're not going to go into headline experimentation today so much because we're going to be short on time. But that's where experimenting with the headlines, experimenting with like the economic viewpoint of something is very important. And there's like, you know, how to communicate value. So there's so many different ways you can communicate pricing and value, right? And that's where next week is going to be very important because next week is automation and AI really help you scale all your experiments, right? So you're not doing all this stuff manually, right? So I was talking about some of the automation on our Twitter account and some of the automation on our social media. And we've done a lot with social media automation. We've done a lot with email and automation. And a lot with the data behind it, and then you know that helps us rapidly experiment, right? I'm not out there doing what was it like 6,000 tweets. I haven't done any of those tweets, it helps, right, to have all that automation in place. And so that's, what we help our clients set up. And then, there's some basic ones you can set up on your own that help as well. I'm so excited because next week there's a like a growth hacker list of, I think it was like 125 tools you can use for hacking stuff, right? Which is just a fancy way of saying automation. And then a lot of the AI tools, there's some specific categories of AI tools, but like, there are scheduling assistants and content finders and certain things that are all very good to help you with those experiments. But the main thing is just a plan, right? So having the plan in place is probably one of the hugest things that you can do, right? Is making sure you say, okay, I'm going to offer these 10 things per month, and then I'm going to, make 4 or 5 versions of those, right? And then I'm going to put those out there, right? And then hopefully the goal is for you to get ahead of yourself. So you're doing it 2 and 3 months in advance, like most corporations do, right? 2-3 months, a year in advance or whatever. You kind of know what the movement, the cycles are of your business, and then your customers start to know what those cycles are, and they have certain expectations. That's the eventual goal, right? But in the beginning, if you have, 1, 2, 3 promotions a month, that's fine, right? Until you get your systems in place to where you know how to do it bigger, better, faster, right? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I was getting water. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
I think actually I could share one thing on my phone because I know the analytics on the app are slightly different. Let me see if I can do both at the same time. So it pretty much, the cool thing about Facebook is everything on Facebook has analytics, like big time. Big time. They're really trying to move everybody away from using third-party tools. They want everybody on the platform. So there's so many different little metrics and analytics things, built right into the Facebook feed and into the mobile app. The mobile app tends to be a little bit more advanced than the rest of the ecosystem with Facebook than, say, for example, the web browser version that was taking forever to load. But the coolest thing, so that there's sort of like the fundamental part of the Facebook app. Go here. Okay. Trying to get all my devices to sync up here. See how good this Google app is actually working. Okay, can you guys still hear me okay? I didn't cut out, did I? Okay, yeah, I'm still there.
You're good.
I'm still there.
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay. I was like, it got really quiet for a second. I'm like, uh-oh. All right. Let's see which one loads first here. So one of the things it does, obviously, is here it has the overall kind of stats about what you're reaching and why you're reaching all that stuff. And so the goal here is not to just like constantly get that number up, right? It's to be strategic. So you want to focus on making sure that with every single thing you have going on your pages, you're putting together, like when your reach is supposed to spike and when it's supposed to be low and when it's supposed to be high and like what you're wanting to accomplish, right? So we have, some regular posts that are just going out on the bot. And then we have what are called promotional posts, right? And those are not just promotional posts that are boosted on Facebook, They're promotional posts where we know where our target audience is. We know what group they're in. We know what pages they're on, and we make sure that that post gets in front of those people. We don't depend on Facebook ads to get us there. We actually post those directly to the users and measure those. So you can see these are kind of like our regular engagements. But when we do a purposeful promotional post, let's see if we can get down. Just have to scroll down a little ways here. Oh yeah, they're all going slow. Okay. So you see here we kind of get, there's our regular, we get like 20. And by the way, this number that Facebook does, where people reach, is a cap that Facebook puts on your posts. So one of the secrets to getting traffic to your page is to have more posts. You actually have to increase the frequency of your posts, usually like 3 to 5 a day, that are relevant to your audience, in addition to targeting people to your post. Does that make sense to everybody? Or do I need to elaborate?
Can you elaborate on that?
So your audience, once you start putting offers out there and you start putting posts and information out there to educate your audience, and you get them to understand and you get them to all these different pieces. Crap, I did not want to go there. Okay, go back. I don't want his live video. Once you get you're clear on what your audience is interested in, it's good for you to frequently post, because Facebook will limit your posts from anywhere to 1 to 3% of your audience, your actual followers, unless that post goes viral, quote unquote. So if you don't have a specific offer, so you'll notice we have about 1,100 on our page, and then 32 are getting reached. That's the 3% number. Ish. Right, so in order to get in front of all of our audience, now it will rotate which 30 people get the post. So it tries to create relevancy, right? So it's good to have a wide variety of information across all kinds of different posts, and a wide variety of landing pages and offers and all of that sort of stuff, so that different people see different aspects of your business. So
that just to check to see if I understand this, and on a website, you want to have the website very specifically themed so that the algorithm knows what it is that you're doing on the website. And you have landing pages for specific audiences, right? But in Facebook, it sounds like you have a multitude of different customer groups, subgroups that you're hitting in Facebook, and then Facebook is determining who's going to get that, like
which
this
post?
Last post.
Yeah.
And maybe
part of that, part of that from looking at the data on your specific page. So we've done the data on our page, right? And we know like who's interested in this post, and then you can see we shared it and we boosted this post ourselves. So, and that's because we know where our posts match which group, which algorithm, which piece, right? Of Facebook that will make that happen for that specific post. So as you get to know your audiences, you know what groups you're supposed to be in, and you know what offers get responded to. That's why it's important to track all this data, right? Because eventually, over time, you'll get very, very good at looking at the insights to your page and then knowing what matches which one. Right, what post will go off on which page. Every once in a while now, we've done it so much, but every once in a while we're wrong, but 99% of the time we're right. Now, just because we've done so many posts now. And then you can see as you look here, so we like to look at the 28 days. And if you have other tools like Sprout Social or some of these other tools, you can see way beyond 28 days. That's why we talk about other tools. But you can see here, like over the last month or so, we've done pretty good. We get up to like 28,000 posts on Facebook before they get mad at us and start threatening us and telling us to buy ads.
I'm sorry, Marie, what was that again? 28,000 per month?
Yeah, we reach about 28,000 people per month on Facebook before they get pissed at us. But this week we've only done a few different things, a few different promotions. We haven't done as many. But you can start to see, you know, when you look at your posts, you'll be able to see kind of like what is the real algorithm of it. You can see how many page previews, how many retweets, all that sort of stuff. But you can see that if you look at these numbers, Facebook is managing the algorithm, right? Because it's very consistent. Right, we're consistent to a degree, but we're not that consistent. It's because Facebook is doing that, right? And then, you know, you can also look at your followers, all those different degrees. So that, you know, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn will always tell you certain things like, you know, your followers like these sort of things, your followers follow these kind of pages, right? And so the goal is to sort of track the content, right? Like what kind of content are people responding to? What kind of content do they respond to on your page? What about in groups? What about during the day? What about the night? What about all those different things, right? And then having tools to track all those sort of pieces, right? Track your life management, track all these different things. Because you can, you know, the great thing about Facebook is it's sort of this blank canvas with all these different tools. But you have to, what you do have to know, so like you see for us, like we're managing our own spikes, like it's not through, there's no paid, there's only organic. And that's just because we know the data so well about our own site and our own page. And again, that was just sort of earned over time. And then everything that you're doing, you want to make sure you're constantly looking at what's happening. You're constantly looking at reactions. You're constantly looking at where you get a lot of comments, right? So we got a lot of comments on this one post the other day. And, you know, where did those comments come from? That sort of thing. So that's, you know, how you start to begin to use analytics, right? And like I said, you don't have to you don't have to have like one day, you know, one sort of like, or sorry, you don't have to have like 10 posts. You can have like 1, 2, 3, 4, right, in a week, in a month or whatever, and then measure based on this sort of stuff. And then again, you can also see like, you know, what sections are being viewed, age and gender, countries, by device. Right, so we know we overwhelmingly have people on computers more than mobile devices because we're a very sort of heady company. So it's more workers than it is like mobile people. But, you know, if you're more of an Instagram company, probably mobile devices would be very high. So that's why, you know, mobile devices, video is good, Instagram's good, Pinterest is good, those kind of things. Versus if you're more information savvy, you're going to be more on desktop computers and things like that. And you want to make posts that are more for those kind of people, if that makes sense. Another secret, the final sort of data secret to Facebook is when people, when you have your page. So I had mentioned on one of the recordings that we have, I have a specific business page, and all of my friends are business friends. Like I think I only have like 1 or 2 actual family members or friends on this thing, and that's because those family members and friends are business people. And so one of the biggest secrets is making sure that, you know, if you're going to start using your Facebook for business, you have at least a specific segment of your friend circle, like allocated to business people. And you have some things in common with those people, because that will attract other people That will track Facebook to recommend other potential people who can be your customers from those people. So it's important that, like, if you have a bunch of junk in your Facebook and you're mixing your personal and your professional Facebook up, that you sort of clean it up and then make sure you reserve so many spaces for people who are business related to you. So you can see here, like, me and this person have 1,200 mutual friends. That's because we're both doing a lot of business on Facebook. Right? She discovered the same secret I discovered, right? And then I can look and see how many mutual friends do we have, and then I can be like, oh, look, all these people are interested in data stuff because I happen to know this person's interested in data stuff. So I can be like, oh, look at that. There's me and her. So now, for a long time, actually, Data 360, we've never really run out of leads or business or anything like that because we did all this work and then here's all the data, right? So that's why these things are important, because then it just sort of saves you time on, like, what am I going to do next for my business? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, super interesting.
There are, again, lots and lots of other things to talk about on here, but one thing I'm going to send out to you guys, because we're running out of time and we'll be on the call for like 3 hours if we don't stop. Because I love talking about this stuff, obviously. I'm going to send you a article from mycustomer.com, which is also a really great site for you to look at, which has a lot about all kinds of customer stuff, CRM and e-commerce, the strategy and data. And, there's no lack of these sites out there, folks. So. But this is a really great one because it talks about 9 customer journey maps. And it talks about kind of the samples of those maps, which is super awesome. And this is important because when you look at all the posts you do, all the websites you do, or landing pages you do, all what you put on your site and tabs and all that stuff, what you want to think about is the journey that people are going on and what part of your ecosystem does that piece, right? So you can see here that in this particular map, there's a positive experience, there's a neutral experience, there's a negative experience. And there, in this customer journey, there's a plan for each part of that experience. And once you have the page and you have the data and the tools, you can actually start to put your customers through these journeys or these funnels to be able to manage their expectations. And you can plan for positive and negative. You can plan for all kinds of things. What if something goes wrong, right? How do you make it up to that customer? What if they're not interested in this? What is an alternative? All these different things. So you can really plan out so that your social media, your chat, your carts, your phone services, and all of that stuff starts to come together, right, in one single system. And then you can start to see what your customer profiles are. So this is where everything becomes really important, right? How many of your customer profiles are promoters? How many are passive? How many are detractors, right? Now, this is where Google Analytics really falls apart. So Google Analytics is great for just making sure that if you're directing people to a page, you can see what happens on the page, but it doesn't track this kind of information, and so you need other tools once you get to this level. But you can make up for some of this in Bitly, and you can make up for some of this in other measurement tools like your social media tools. But the goal in the beginning is just to start to play with how this journey is going to go. How do you bring people from awareness to research and consideration to purchase to post-purchase, right? That's kind of the same as this change management process, right? So part of this data analytics really becomes important when you are posting things and you're putting things out there, you put these things together. Once you get them to understanding, like they understand they want it and they click on that link ideally in the long run should go into a customer journey from understanding to internalization. You should be putting them through this so that then you can track where they're getting lost, what are their responses, what are the different avenues you can get in touch with them, and then you just keep experimenting until you perfect it. And you're looking at, satisfaction metrics, you're looking at, demographics and psychographics and all that stuff.
So Maria, I have a question. If you had mentioned before that someone had a link that was very old, but they keep clicking on it, is that getting to internalization over time?
Yeah, so there's a fixed audience for that particular project now, because that project's been around for the whole 5 years of our history. So yeah, that means that there's a core group of internalized people who have internalized that project. And then, you want some links like that are evergreen. Like we have some links that just link to our website from, that are in the bio of my Facebook, right? And then we know that's where those people came from.
They clicked your bio and then they came from bio to this whatever page.
To our website. So we have one just for that, right? We have one just for Instagram. Right? Or I think we put Facebook and Instagram together, but we basically are like, okay, they came from Facebook or Instagram. Bio. Got it. Right. They're bio people. So they're just trying to check out who is this person, who are these people, what's going on. Versus, the ones we have for specific promotions, we make one just for that promotion. So it's not a like catch-all for one thing, right? And that's the same for all these different maps, right? So it's the same pieces, again, telling you how to do these different pieces. So check out that, I'll send out this article with our particular, our recap of today's call. And then you can see there's so many different ones. That's why I love this article, because there's 9 specific samples that are just phenomenally different examples and really give you an idea of what to do. All right, so any questions before we wrap? I know this was a lot of info today.
Yeah, that was a lot. No, great, thank you.
We can replay this, right?
It's on the FBA landing page. When we send out the replay, yeah, every week is on there.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go back and watch them.
Every week is on there. Yeah, slowly pause, take notes, feel free to ask questions, all that fun stuff. Because we know it takes practice, right? And so we're gonna send out how to get the bonus software, and that's what we asked for. So we asked for you to show us like one uniform practice of this, and then you'll get your bonus software so you can start putting it into place. Yay!
Hooray!
Welcome to business.
Thank you so much, Marie. This is a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It was overwhelmingly delightful.
As usual, right? All right. So thanks, everyone. I really appreciate your time and thoughts and all that great stuff. And, we look forward to next week is the last week of the Friday Lives, but we're always available via email, and we're going to be we'll be coordinating with Todd to, sort of figure out, any follow-up or how to be more helpful to you guys.
You've been great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking time and help us to learn all this stuff really in a short time.
Yeah.
And there's so much.
There's so much, right? It's a lot of different things. But yeah, happy to help. I'm glad it actually wound up being me the whole time. I was like, I'll just tough it out and like do the whole thing. Because it actually reminds me about, we have now 400 businesses in our cohort. You guys are the 14, right? But it was great to kind of like go back through everything again before we go into the stratosphere. So it's good.
Yeah,
So
great.
thank you guys for your attention and focus. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Marie.
All right, guys. Well, have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch with all kinds of links and stuff. Yeah, just make sure and check those replay emails. They have all the links to the videos and all the different things. They're there. The latest one always has a link to all the previous ones. It's the same landing page. It's always there.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Great.
All right,
Thanks.
everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye, Marie.
All right. Bye-bye.